Greetings and welcome to Pinball Help. Here we are working on a late 70s solid state Stern game by the name of Memory Lane. I've got the back glass off because I'm working in the back of the machine, and this is the machine that we rebuilt our MPU board on. And I actually managed to get the game booting up using this board, except that the start button wasn't working. So I've been trying to trace this problem. So in order to see if it was an MPU issue, what I did was, and this is always good to have one around, I've got an Alltech MPU board that I've thrown in to see if I can rule out the possibility that there still may be some kind of a recurring problem with this. When I put the board in, it did one quick flash and then 6 flashes. It didn't hit the 7th flash. Led me straight to a fuse over here that was out. Once I replaced that fuse, the game booted up, came into attract mode, everything lit up and looked good. Couldn't get the start button working. So still trying to figure out why. So I've swapped out, and I traced the connections from the start button here all the way up to this connector right here, and I verify that they're working. So we still don't know why it's working. So why it's not working. So let's power the game up. Okay, see what you get. And what's kind of cool is this is a solid state game, but it's got chimes in it. If you look down in there, you can see there's chimes in the machine. That's kind of neat. So there's 9 credits in the game. Start button doesn't work. And you notice they had tape over this, so I have reason to believe maybe the start button hadn't worked for quite a long time. Not quite sure why. And here's the weird part, right? I can put a coin in, and so that's registering. Now we have 10 credits. So why can't we start a game? And we hit the self-test button here. We hit one time and it flashes all the lights. We hit it a second time and it goes through the displays. They're all working nicely. Third time, it's firing all the different solenoids. Fourth time is the switch test. And you see right there the little thing is blinking. So then if we hit a switch down here, what happens is the number of the switch appears up on the display. So if I let go of that, it goes back down to 0. So if I hit this one right here, switch 12. So I can go through the board, pressing switches and verifying the switches are working. That's kind of neat. It's not as advanced as the more modern games which have the switch matrix test and can show you how switches relate to each other, but it's enough to keep you going. So when I press this button down here, nothing happens. It's not registering. What's up with that? Now, how come when I traced the wires all the way to the MPU board, they worked? So, got to be something on the switch matrix. But what? The way the switch matrix works is you have rows and columns of switches that are aligned together, and when a switch fires, it's grounded, but what they've got is these diodes across the switch matrix so that the game can read individual switches, but sometimes if one switch is messed up, it can throw off other switches. Now you have to kind of dig out the game manual and figure out which switches are interrelated to find out, because I checked the diode on this switch right here. I put my meter on it and it looked good. I didn't cut it off, but my preliminary tests indicate that diode appears to be good. So, must be some problem. But what is the problem? Now what's weird here is the game actually talked to me and gave me an indication of where to look. I'm sitting here and I'm poking around in the game, you know, just trying to see if I can see anything unusual, because I contend that most pinball problems can be spotted just if you just look around and you just start looking for anything unusual. You know, so I'm like looking here and I'm saying, okay, that's a blue wire with a white stripe, and then the other one coming off of it is a red wire with a white stripe. So I follow this around, and here's the connector for it. Okay, so I unplug that connector and I check the pins. So I check the continuity between the red and the blue wires on the connector all the way over here. They're good. Okay, so then I follow these wires and it goes all the way back up in the back box, and then it goes up into the top. Right? And the wires come up here and they're right here. So I know that there's the red wire and the blue wire. So I pull this connector off and I check the continuity between that and down there, and I know everything is good. So now I need to figure out what else is on that row. So while I'm poking around, I hear this click, 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 click every now and then. And I'm like trying to figure out what that is. Well, it's this little solenoid right here. And this coil, the design behind this is when the game's on, it's powered up, and it moves this little plate, and this little plate's connected to this bar here, see? And when the bar is one way, it allows the coins to drop through. When the bar is another way, it sends the coins to the coin return. The idea behind this is, if the game is off, coins won't go into the coin box because people will complain. Obviously, you can't put a credit on the game if the power's off. So what happens is when power is applied to the machine, this coil fires up, moves this little bar, and that allows the coins to drop through. So when the machine is off, the game won't eat coins. Okay. So I'm looking and I hear this clack clack, and I look down here, and let's see if I can get the camera on it. You'll see what I saw. I think it's not gonna. Let me see if I can get it. Okay. Right there. See this right here? This is a diode. It's actually broken off. See that? Put my thumb behind it. So that diode right there is disconnected, broken in two. So it was chattering, so it was kind of touching, but it was broken. So that's obviously a problem. I'm going to replace that diode, and I bet if I look in the manual, I'm going to find that this is on the same switch matrix as the start button. At least I'm hoping, because that would certainly address this issue. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm going to see if fixing this will make this thing work properly. So stay tuned. I'm going to bust out my soldering iron and remove this and fix this diode and see if we can get this game to start up. So stay tuned for more. Visit the website pinballhelp.com. I tend to kind of line up all these videos in a playlist so you can watch from the beginning to the end on each game. Or on the website I will have individual articles on certain topics and certain types of repairs. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.